Hello, in this screencast I want to show you how to create a RIA tab widget in Uniface. Uniface 9.4 dynamic server pages offer an easy way to develop highly interactive and desktop-like applications for the web, also known as rich internet applications. A number of RIA widgets is provided for those applications out of the box. Although there is no out-of-the-box RIA tab widget available, there are several ways to achieve tab navigation quite easily. In this example, I will use Cascading Stylesheets for that. This will be the result at the end. It consists of two tabs showing different informations. The second tab. Assuming that these information pages already exist, we will create the navigation now. Let's start with a new DSP and call it tab. For the layout, we will need a set of CSS classes, which are defined in a stylesheet document named tab3.css. So we will reference this now in our DSP. In our tab page, we will need space for a header which will contain a page title and the tab navigation elements. We will also need space for the content of our two information pages. Let's define this in the following structure of HTML divisions. Each div has been assigned a class from our stylesheet file. Outermost, we have a div classified as outer. This div splits into an outer header and a content division. The outer header consists of a left header and a right header. Within the left header, we have a left header title with some text and the left header navigation, which will contain the navigation elements then. And then we have a class right header, which will have some graphic. Using Mozilla Firebug, we can visualize these divs on our tab page. So the blue color shows now the outer div, which is the whole page. Inside we have the outer header on top, and below we have the content div for our information pages. Inside the outer header we have the left header and the right header. And inside the left we have the title and we have the navigation area for our navigation elements. How did we achieve this? For this we have to take a look into the stylesheet document. Essential are mainly the box properties of the stylesheet definitions. So when a div is classified as outer, we see that the position here is absolute, and there are some small offsets set to the browser window. And the outer header, there's also absolute position. We have a height of 5 here and some 0 offsets. Whereas the content, which should be moved down the outer header, has a top offset of 64 pixels for that. The height is 90% and an automatic overflow is specified in case an elevator has to be shown for the content pages. The div classified as left header has a right offset of 30% to reserve this space for the right header. And the right header has a left offset of 70% for that. Similar situation we have with the left header title and the left header navigation. The left header title has a bottom offset of 50% and the left header navigation has a top offset of 50% in order to get these blocks one above the other. The content class also has an orange colored frame on 3 sides except top, and on right header there is an orange bottom frame. There are some more classes defined here which we need for the tab navigation itself. The tab buttons, which will be created as occurrence fields of the Uniface navigation entity, will be arranged as HTML lists. In the style sheet, we have introduced an ID navigation for a div, and when it contains an HTML list with an UL tag, it removes the list typical dot what you normally would get by using list type none, what you see here. For the list element itself, it is important to define display inline to get the tab buttons side by side instead of above each other. There are also some margins defined. The tab button will be displayed as an anchor reference inside the list element. It should get an orange background, and also the surrounding border should be orange. There are also some box properties for paddings and margins. When a tab button is clicked, there is a class selected for the anchor reference here. The button should get then a white background. Also the bottom border will get white, whereas the other borders will stay orange as it is inherited from the unselected state. When the tab is not selected but just hovered with the mouse, only the background will change to white. Okay, now finished with the style sheet. The advantage is that you can reuse it with all your tab pages now. Then let's apply it. We will need an entity for the navigation buttons of the tab, as well as an entity for the content. In the entity navigation, we will need a button acting as tab button. So we insert a field F1 and define it as flat button. As content, we will use a DSP container field called content, because it will receive content information pages according to the tab button which was selected. Now we have to insert the navigation button into the layout. First we have to create the HTML list in the left header navigation div. We can use format list bulleted to get this done. Now we can insert the button field. Now we bind the list to the navigation entity and the list element to the navigation occurrence. Next is now to insert the content field into the content div. If the tab button is clicked, we have to activate the right content page. Activating a DSP inside a DSP container is just an assignment statement, so that we can define the detail trigger like following. When the first tab is pressed, then we will show page product 1. For the second tab, we will show race 1. In the beginning, we have to create the tab buttons and fill them with some text and a graphical representation. We can use the execute trigger for this. We will have now two of these buttons, one for equipment and one for races. The graphical representation was defined as a style property background image. When a tab button is clicked, then the appearance of the button should change into a selected shape. Just before in the style sheet, we had defined a class selected, meaning white background of the button. Now we have to set this. We can use the pre-save occurrence trigger of our navigation entity and define: if the occurrence is the selected one, then the class will dynamically change to class selected. Otherwise, the class will be emptied. Now we can already test our tab. Let's compile and test it, and we will see that it works. First tab, second tab. We have seen that there is very little Uniface code necessary to achieve tab functionality. Main features what I used was the DSP container, in which the selected information page is activated, and two occurrences of a dummy navigation entity for the tab buttons, and these buttons are layouted by a cascading style sheet so that they appear in the right tab shape. This concludes the screencast about Uniface RIA TAB Widget.